having fans in the building does make a difference. There's a connection there with the crowd. And while our crowd will be 5,240 on Sunday, those 5,240 will be very important for our team. And as a part of that, they're also going to have the opportunity to have their family and friends with them.
Hello and welcome to the Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. I'm Charles Arbuckle, again joined by Colin Cole, and this is a good week, Colin. I'd say whenever you win, you always have to take those and make those things talk through them, but know that, when you get an opportunity to win a ball game and you struggle like the Panthers have, I think that's the one thing you want to do. Now you have to, I guess the biggest thing I'll ask you is, how long did most of your coaches and you celebrate after a big win like that?
You know what, Buck? I mean, for me personally, it was, you get a good 24, maybe 48 hours of time that you actually enjoy that, and you move on to the next opponent, because it's the rigors of the season. As you know, it's an onslaught. There's no time to really bask in your success, because the next opponent is coming, and as we know, the next opponent is the Arizona Cardinals. But for the most part, man, you enjoy that. You got to enjoy them as they come, because they're so hard to get in this league. They're not, easy to come by whatsoever. There are no Slippery Rock universities, no dig at anybody from Slippery Rock University, but there are no easy games on your schedule. So to get those victories, and you got to take advantage of them and enjoy them.
Yeah, I think, Colin, you bring up a great point. People don't realize how hard it is to win football games. If you never played at any level, I think, if you coach, whatever level you coach, whatever level you play, you don't realize how difficult it is to win until you do it. And when you start doing it consistently, it can become contagious. I think the chemistry for the Panthers only heightens more now that you get the win, but also now you can get fans back in the stands.
Absolutely. You feed off the fans. No matter how many fans are in the stands, you're going to feed off of them. And I'm sure that you're going to have some family in the stands as well. So I'm sure those guys are going to be excited to have fans back in the stands and be excited to play in front of a crowd. And, I'm sure that crowd is going to be as raucous as they can. It's not going to be fast, obviously, but, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity to be up in that building.
Well, one question I wanted to ask you, and I think this is the one thing we talked about even a few weeks ago. I'm happy for Mike Davis. I hate that Christian McCaffrey couldn't play, but it's good to see the young man and the emotion that he showed after the game.
It's just really crazy to me. Like, my dad was really my biggest fan, and I know he wanted to see me play and go out there and do my thing. With me wearing 28, I know he, he would have just loved to see it, and me being close. The home is it really kind of hurt a little bit, because I know he'll want to be at every game. So I'm trying not to tear up, man. But man, I just love my dad so much, and I think it's crazy that he went away. Cancer really took him from me.
I mean, you really have to dig down into that depth. And, with what the performance was last week with Mike Davis, I'm excited to see, just like you said, for him to have had that opportunity and to take advantage of that opportunity and to really, show what his abilities are. But, yeah, you get an opportunity to really see where your other playmakers are, and you have to lean on those guys. And, we already know what CMC means to this offense and what the percentages he is to this offense. But you're going to need everybody. You're going to need to spread the ball around. And this is the opportunity to really get the ball to some of those other playmakers.
Yeah, well, O-line did a really nice job. We've talked about that being a thing that they had to do. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson have stepped up. I still think the tight ends can play a little bit better. Teddy Bridgewater really starting to get his comfort level with this offense. I think the one thing that when you look at this offense right now, they haven't been able to be consistent in the red zone. They struggle there.
I think that at this point, it's going to continue to be a work in progress in terms of gaining that continuity along the offensive line, the interior offensive line, being able to get push, obviously with Russ out, and I believe we had somebody else out. I can't think of who it was last week. But we had, you got to have that continuity. As you know, offenses run off that continuity. You got to be able to run the football. You have to be able to really win at the point of attack and be able to win those matchups and get the ball in the end zone by running the football and play fast off of that. A lot of times we're taking shots. We don't have necessarily those 6'6" receivers that can go up for those jump balls necessarily. But with the route tree, with the route combinations that I've seen from from Joe Brady's offense so far, I definitely see a lot of opportunity to get in the end zone. So it's going to take time. It's going to take, just consistent working and consistently, getting in these opportunities. And again, this is the time to really gel and get better as an offense. As you know, Buck, without those preseason games, these first few games are kind of like taking the place of that. And honestly, these guys are really learning Teddy, and Teddy's learning these guys. And that's just the way it's going to be. And they're going to get into a rhythm. They're going to continue to get better. And I definitely feel like what I've seen so far is a constant growth, and they're going to continue to grow.
But I'll make it simple. Red zone, since you don't have big receivers, you got big tight ends. Manhurts and Ian Thomas, you got to make plays in the red zone. That's what we'll say. That's what I'll say. All right, give me the ball, Coach. That's our segment where it's brought to you by Thin Energy. I'm going to ask Colin, what are your expectations? What are your predictions for Panthers on offense this week as you look at this Arizona Cardinals defense and how they can attack?
Well, I think that with what we've seen so far, we've seen Teddy's ability to move the ball around and get the ball to DJ, Robbie. They've proven to be legitimate threats in this league. And so I'm excited to see how they continue to progress and grow. Mike Davis has shown that he has the ability to take the offense on his back and make the runs that he needs to. And let's not forget our man who's come in and back him up a few times. Trent Cannon came into the game. He played some considerable reps and had some considerably well runs. And so he's going to be a backup for a few weeks, and he's going to do what he did last season. So I'm excited to see how things progress between those backs. And, just like you're talking about with Ian Thomas and we're talking about some of these tight ends, Manhurts, we're going to see them progress. We're going to see Teddy really lean on them. As we know, tight ends are definitely the bloodline of most offensive. That's typically typically the quarterback's, favorite target. He's going to typically find that guy. So I expect those guys to really step it up over this next weeks. And, the offense, I think, is clicking. And especially when they're on, Teddy's on, they've shown that they got the ability to push the ball down the field and continue to grow.
At ADSN, when we say let's take the field, we mean it. So let's check out one of our young guns on the ADSN roster, Antonio Greene, and get some insight into the Cardinals and our all-access breakdown of the Arizona Cardinals.
What's up, Panther fans? I'm back at you with another week. So much better after a victory. We talk about the Panthers taking on them Dirty Birds over on the West Coast this time as they travel over to the bank and the Arizona Cardinals. Let's get into it. Last week, I identified the offense going to be the key points to winning the games over the Chargers, and shout out to the offensive line and keeping Teddy Bridgewater healthy and upright. This week, I'm focusing on the defense, in particular, Jeremy Chinn and Brian Burns. Those two are going to be very key in stopping this air raid attack the Cardinals like to deploy, and we're very familiar with the scheme, seeing how we played them last year, but this time at their house, seeing how they travel over here with a whole new defense. I know everybody's a little worried and what to expect, but I'm here to tell you there's 2, maybe 3 people who can help us and identify and get this game win in our favor. So let's check it out. During the game, you might see a formation like this from the Cardinals, and you might see the Carolina Panthers come out in this defensive type of formation. Now, the beautiful thing about having versatile players like Jeremy Chinn and Brian Burns, let's say, for the sake of example, we give them a 10-yard out, Deandre Hopkins on a straight go, on a straight in, and on a straight go. Now, you might believe that everything can be covered and or a person can get open. But the beautiful thing about having a Brian Burns, he can either rush and fall back. In this situation, they can motion the back out of the backfield. So now you have an empty formation with 5 wide receivers, and you're thinking the Panthers might be out of position. But with Jeremy Chinn playing safety, corner, and some free safety in college, he's able to match up with his 4.4 speed and contain any route to come available, which allows better one-on-one for Derek Brown or Brian Burns on the outside. Thus can keep contained and thus keep Kyler Murray and his high-octane offense to a bare minimum. Now, I know what everybody else in the city of Charlotte will be looking forward to this Sunday and hoping the boys can hold down fort at the bank and get home a W against the Cardinals. Keep pounding.
A lot of good stuff from the defensive locker room. I think Derek Brown is starting to really show up. You talked about him from the very beginning as a defensive tackle and understanding that. He got some sacks, got pressure. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, right? Especially a young quarterback. Shaq Thompson, we know what Shaq can do. 13 tackles. He's all over I call him a stat stuffer. Phil Snow so far has done a nice job of, holding the fort because they weren't playing well. And I think the mentality is they're starting to understand what they need to do and do it consistently. What are your thoughts about this defense as we look at that right now?
And to see last week, to see the pressure like you talked about, and to see those guys really get after it, especially in some of the 3-down stuff that I saw. We talked about in the episode within the training camp. I got a chance to see some of that stuff in practice. So to see some of that stuff actually in the games and to see that to see it work and come to fruition, kind of with Derek Brown right over the center and just able to maul him and make plays on either side of the ball, playing off of those blocks. He's going to continue to grow, and I'm excited to see these guys continuing to get better. Stephen Weatherly showed up. As we know, Brian Burns has been a tremendous player off the edge. We saw the sack strip fumble. That was pretty big in the game. And obviously, we know Shaq Thompson when he had his same strip fumble, that was huge momentum changer to obviously turn the game for us and obviously get us to a point where we went in and scored points off of it.
Yeah, you talked about it from the very beginning. What is the biggest thing that this defense has started to get that you saw from training camp? Because you said when we talked right before we started doing the show at the very beginning, you said this defense is going to be better. It's not where it needs to be, but just from what you saw, you said they were starting to beat the offense, and it wasn't like that at the beginning. What has transferred from that when we talked very beginning of the season till now? What's been the biggest difference from what you've seen with this defense?
I would say that between the growth of Derek Brown, first and foremost, he's been a huge asset, obviously, with his strength, his power, with his ability to explode and get off the ball. He's been somebody who they've expected to come along, and his growth has been huge, as well as Jeremy Chin, the rookie out of I believe at Illinois State or Southern Illinois. He is a tremendous player, and he's shown that he can be on the field every single snap, on every single down, and he's going to play every single play, and he's going to come and bring it every single play. So the growth of both of those players is going to be huge going forward, as well as Tyre Whitehead. I think that seeing him early on in camp, I would say that adjusting to the difference in the scheme that he's come from with him being with the Raiders last year, coming into this scheme, I think there was a little bit of a learning curve. And looking at the playbook myself, there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve for everybody. But definitely a lot of growth there. And I think that he's going to continue to grow. And defensively, we saw Dante Jackson come up with a big play as well. And the defensive backfield is going to continue to grow, and continuity is going to grow there, especially with Trey Boston back there, continue to show those guys where to go. So defensively, I'm excited to see where they go, and it's one opportunity. Obviously, of the rookie quarterback, they have to come back and stack wins together. It's going to be a difficult one next week or this week coming up, and we'll see where this team goes from here.
So now when we go to the injury report, we got to look at that. Christian McCaffrey still out. Juwan Short, Dennis Daly, Jeremy Chin, and Russell Okung all on the injury report. But from that perspective, it seems like a pretty clean situation unless something happens at the end. Now, that's what's interesting, too, that injury report brought to you by Pain Side. One thing that's interesting is that you look at games starting to get postponed because of not just injury, COVID. This team has done a pretty good job so far, and I know Matt Rhule has talked about it, but making sure that they kind of create their own bubble so guys can stay healthy. What was that like in training camp? Because I heard a lot of good things about the technology that the Panthers use, and you being a coach there. How has that manifested itself for these guys coming out it seems to be pretty good so far. You got to knock on wood, but so far they've done a nice job from a COVID perspective.
And, I think that honestly, when Coach Rhule put the onus in the players' hands, I think he really put it in perspective that, hey, I'm not trying to give you guys COVID. I'm not trying to get you guys sick or your families. I'm not trying to get you to go back home with something that you caught here from guys or anything like that. So really take the onus on that. This is a different year. There's not the opportunity of going out to restaurants. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to have to be on lockdown. Now there's an example of that going on in Tennessee. So now guys have an opportunity to see that, hey, if things do go awry, this is how badly things can get. But while I was there, between the contact tracers that we had to wear every single day and the testing that we were doing every single day, that was our fail-safe of knowing that, first of all, before you even get into this building, we've been tested, and we'll know when you do come into the building, we'll know within minutes if you have any kind of symptoms that seem like they're off or abnormal or what have you. So it's something that you definitely don't want to take lightly. And with the example of what the Titans are going through right now, it's something it's a lot of exposure that has to come to it, and guys have to really understand that the stuff that you're used to doing, you just can't do right now.
How do you stop Kyler Murray? How do you stop DeAndre Hopkins? Because Kyler Murray has started to really get comfortable in that offense. Larry Fitzgerald is there. You got Kenyon Drake that's in the backfield. How do you stop this offense? And how do you contain a guy like Kyler Murray? What are some of the things that your staffs have told you in the past when they're thinking about stopping a mobile quarterback like him?
The thing about a guy like Kyler Murray is that you know that you have to keep him in the pocket. You have to force him to beat you with his arm. You already know that. His strongest asset is getting out on the edges and getting out with the ability to both run or pass. And if you can eliminate that second option of running, then you force him to be a quarterback. And he has yet to prove that he can be a straight pocket style quarterback in this league. And that's how you really, force him into the game that we don't know that he's necessarily comfortable playing. Like you said, there are so many different players on that team, so many different weapons, and it starts with DeAndre Hopkins. Can he go this week is the question, but we know that when he can go, he is the guy. He is the weapon. So I'm excited to see how the secondary responds after a very good week last week, matched up against some really good receivers. We can't act like Keenan Allen is somebody who can't make plays, and he definitely made plays, but for the most part he was held in check. So we can see how it transfers into this week and see how they're able to fare against this bunch that's coming into B of A.
Well, it sounds like you think like I think. DeAndre Hopkins, if he can play, is the biggest threat, along with Kyler Murray, who I think has gotten better as a passer, but still has some room to grow. But, man, when he gets an open field, you got to be able to break down on that young man, because he will make you miss and he'll make you look bad. Colin, when you look at this Cardinals defense, they have played pretty well. They've got a lot of young guys as well. Buda Baker is one that comes to mind because he's been leading them in tackles. But, hey, I got to spend a year coaching with in the Alliance of American Football. We were at the practice facility and the field where the Cardinals were. So the one thing I do know is that they're going to come with some pressure. They're going to put pressure to the quarterback, and they're going to do things. Chandler Jones has really been able to get after the quarterback, one of the linebackers, Jordan Hicks, Devon Kennard. And then I think, too, Jordan Phillips has really started to play well for them, that defensive tackle. But the Buda Baker out of Washington has done a really nice job. These Washington Husky defensive backs are all over the league now playing well. Colin, I know you like defense. What does this defense, if they can get to the quarterback, provide, and what do the Panthers have to do to make sure they don't allow these guys to get out?
Just like you talked about, between Chandler Jones and these other young guys, they're going to be trying to get after them. And Buda Baker has shown that he's got a lot of playmaker ability. We can't forget the ability that Patrick Peterson brings to the table, the vet. He's going to be tested, obviously, with the speed that we have going down the field. So I'm excited to see if they're going to be able to pressure, if they're going to be able to get pressure up the middle, and if they're going to be able to cover and stay with the speed that Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore have shown to consistently have. Curtis Samuels, some of the stuff that I've seen with them bringing and implementing Curtis Samuels into the backfield is what they're over there thinking about right now. How are they going to adjust to that? How are they going to cover him? Are they going to relate to him as being a receiver? So I think with some of the things that Joe Brady's offense is shown in the first couple of weeks is going to really put these defenses in a position where they have to really account and think about how they're going to play this offense moving forward.
That my man Colin Cole, you hit the nail on the head. If they can control tempo and make sure they stay ahead of the change, I think this Panthers offense will perform really well. If they get behind, that's where you get in trouble. We'll be right back on the ADSN Pro Football Report.
I'm Marshall Falk.
I'm Glenn Parker.
Hi, I'm Dusty Baker, manager of the Houston Astros, and you're looking and listening to Chopping It Up with Buck.
I know you want to leave, and I refuse to let you go. I mean, if it's going to be chopping it up, we got to talk some food, wine.
Chopping it up. Chopping it up.
Chopping it up.
Chopping it up. You are the first to hear about this.
It was like his head swiveled like Linda Blair in The Exorcist.
This guy just did it with some bums.
I'd have a full six pack if I didn't eat tacos. I love tacos.
You're watching Chopping It Up with Buck.
Chopping it up with Buck.
Oh, that's why.
I'm Maria Taylor, and you're watching Chopping It Up with Buck.
All right. So welcome back to the Pro Football Report on ADSN. As we mentioned, this is a big game. Again, every single week is a big game. But I think, Colin, when you look at this, what are the keys to the game for this Panthers ball club? Coming back home to Bank of America, getting an opportunity to play in front of a few fans. What are a couple of keys for you this week in this game?
I would say establishing a run early, getting Mike Davis going early, getting him on the edge and showing what his abilities are. We already know that he's strong. We already know that he's got the ability to really tote the rock and Cannon bring him in and some change-up opportunities. Push the ball down the field, open up those passing lanes for DJ Moore and for Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. Let's see the tight end position. Let's see those guys really show up this week. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Let's see those guys come up with some plays. And again, we already know those are the quarterback's best friends at all times. So I'm sure that they're going to get rolling this week. I'm excited to see that. Week 3 to week 4. That's correct, right? Week 3 to week 4. Let's see how this defense grows. Let's see how this defense comes together, and can they stack another good game on top of each other. We've seen this defensive line come with it. We've seen those guys really get after the passer. We've seen some strip fumbles. We've seen, some sack strip fumbles. We've seen that happen now. So it's already put out there on tape. It's already seen out there. So they got to reproduce that. They have to get after this offensive line. They got to get after this offense as a whole. We know that the offense has the vets and Larry Fitzgerald. They have Kyler Murray. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They have Kenyon Drake. But at the end of the day, we know who they're targeting. We know that DeAndre Hopkins is their guy. We know that if he can go, they're going to definitely go to him. They're going to get him the ball as much as they possibly can, as early as they possibly can, and they're going to feature Kenyon Drake. So we got to raise to the occasion, and I'm excited to see how this team goes from this week to next week.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they can contain Kyler Murray, that just gives you a bonus point, because you keep him in the pocket. You got to contain him, and I think that's the one thing. But the one key that I like that you said, I'm not going to give my keys. You gave them all. The tight end position has to start stepping up. I think that's going to be, as we see the season play out, those guys have to make some plays. You've got to have about 60 to 70 catches from that position, in my mind, for this Panther team to be successful. So thanks for tuning in to this week's Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. Always good to have my man Colin Cole, and we're going to do this every single week. But be sure to check out Chopping It Up with Buck. That's the show that I do every week. We have great guests. We have people from all over. I mean, you can check it out on any of the ADSN social media platforms. And I'll tell you what, we are always looking to make sure that we keep this thing rolling. And I know, Colin, we'll be back with another victory, right? I think that's the one thing we're going to look for next week. A win against Arizona puts you at 2-2. You're in a much better position than 1-2. So for all those that have watched again, we enjoy it. Thank you for checking out Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. Have a great week.
Peace.